Welcome to Sib Spot. Today's Reddit stories are from MaliciousCompliance. Story 1 is by Revolution Friendly 56. Loyalty goes both ways. I am a worker bee in a company that got bought out by a much bigger company earlier this year. Even though we are a small company, the teams were flexible and everyone helped each other, and the company was profitable. Not to the new ownership, though. Apparently our company was trash and needed to be immediately fixed with structure, hierarchy, and order. The managers I've worked so well with over the years are gone. The new owners promised no change, nothing to worry about, everything will be the same. Except that within a month, all the experienced managers who made the workplace so great to work for are let go. What is worse, they've been replaced by emotionless walking husks resembling ghosts with hammers as their only tool. And we're all nails. Never mind the incessant preaching of company spirit and loyalty and respect and company values. We all moan at these pep talks. We all yawn at the town halls. Then the less subtle threats. Oh, you're not a team player if you don't do X, Y, and Z. You'll need to work overtime or else that's not fair to everyone else. You're leaving on time again? The culture certainly has changed. For one, I didn't even dare to take off early to pick up my kids from school anymore. Finally, the toxic culture of fear and backstabbing. Every word said against the direction, even off the cuff and chit-chat, and every little facial or nonverbal gesture against the flow are immediately and harshly met with reprimands. For example, another worker bee was recently let go for restructuring despite stellar work performance. He just couldn't keep his thoughts to himself, I guess. I hope I painted a good picture of what life under the iron fist is like. Many of us are contemplating leaving, but the job market is quite depressing in our area. The cost of living is high and we are afraid of being the neck that sticks out. So everyone suffers in silence. The company recently appointed a new CEO who, in his opening introduction to everyone, demanded undivided loyalty to him. It means we must follow his every decision. It means we must smile with his presence and be super upbeat. I think the expectation here is we must cry like North Korean women in the presence of the supreme leader, Kim Jong-un. You want us absolutely loyal? I believe loyalty goes both ways. But we can show you loyalty. We all got the message. You want us to play Oscar-winning actors and actresses instead of actually getting work done and speaking our minds to make the company better? You got it. For those of us who read and trust each other, but we still need to be careful, we would have hours-long meeting with each other on topics that sound important, but that don't actually matter. We make sure our days are jammed-packed full of discussions on how to move initiatives forward, but never actually discuss anything of substance, and never have aggressive action items to follow up on. We absolutely never forget to praise the leadership in the meeting minutes. Off the boots, though, there's a lot of small talks for the sake of team building. Whenever we're questioned by these husks of a ghost, we'd pull out the corporate roadmap and point to the initiatives we spent so many hours working on. We'd defend our time with the budget that recently got rolled out. Look, we're on side. We've gone as far as requesting additional resources in next year's budget to ensure our very busy initiatives continue to make headway. We're basically creating a public perception of busy without actually doing too much. We were a lean, small company. Now we're a fat busybody where everything is bloated and compartmentalized. We shut our faces and we nodded. We clapped the hardest after every presidential speech. And we lost money in the last several months. That's the price we pay to give one-sided loyalty. We're still looking for other jobs. There's nothing worse than working at a job that you can't stand and being afraid that you'll lose your job when the area, as they say, is depressed around you and there's not a lot of work that you can do. If you don't want to work at a job, you should just be able to leave and immediately get one of similar pay. But there's a lot of areas where there's one big business and everybody wants to work that job because it pays well. But if you work anywhere else, you're going to barely make ends meet. So yeah, that stinks. It stinks that you're still looking for other jobs while you have to pretend like you love this one. Our next story today is by Tough Painting 6400. All You Can Eat. Many years ago, over 20, my wife and I kept a boat at a lake near our home. The marina had a restaurant that had an all-you-can-eat fried catfish on the menu. These catfish were whole and just about the size of a grown man's hand. We had been eating there 3 or 4 times a month for the past 3 years. I held the record of 17 catfish consumed, and Pete, the owner/cook, always said that I was maxed out and could never better my score. Now comes the malicious compliance. Wife and I had 10 family and friends visiting for my birthday, and we all went to the marina for dinner. I boldly and loudly announced that I was going to beat my record of 17 catfish. Obviously, Pete overheard my braggadocio and took our orders. A lot of beer was being consumed. Pete brought out 9 platters, turned to me and said, "Beat your record and everything is on the house." With cheers all around, Pete then said, "Fail and you have to give Gail and Debbie a 25% tip." Everyone, including me, agreed and just knew we were getting a free meal. Pete went back to his kitchen and brought out my first catfish. That sucker weighed 5 pounds. I could not even eat one. Everyone laughed and we did have a great time. And yes, the girls got their tip and I never messed with Pete again. Pete and I remained friends until he passed away last year. He never tired of telling this story. You ate 17 catfish that were about the size of a grown man's hand. He knew that you were coming and he prepared for this. He bought one giant 5-pounder catfish. That's great. Catfish can vary in size. I thought you maybe were talking about bullhead to start because they're similar to catfish. But sometimes with people that do like eating challenges, I like to sit there and think, most people's stomach is like the size of your fist. Most people's stomach, that's the size of it. And you put 17 fully grown man's hands into your stomach when you had 17 catfish. That cannot be good for your health. It's going to crowd all your organs. But there are people who love to eat catfish. I've never been a fish person myself. I know that people in general that like fish love to eat catfish. Our next story is by 68 Cadillac. It doesn't look like you have enough to do. Got my first career job in a local government, keeping tabs on its real estate and the legal documents relating to said real estate. I'm wet behind the ears, my first 40-hour-per-week career job. This was a time when multitasking was a huge buzzword in business, and it seemed like every single job I applied for required someone with good multitasking skills. I thought it was BS. I worked best when only working on one task at a time and managing my workload via a daily time allotment schedule. That is, I'd schedule my work in 15-minute lumps when I got on in the morning and work on those tasks. That way, I never missed a deadline or had a project fall between the cracks. For example, some tasks got slotted 2 hours, some whole days, some just 15 minutes. I loved to keep my desk clean. All tasks that appeared in my physical inbox were sorted and prioritized. The paperwork was then filed and the task was scheduled for later that day or later in the week depending on how urgent it was. Consequently, my desk was always empty, save one folder and a few maps related to the folder. Once one task was done, the folder and its maps were filled. A new folder and its maps were retrieved. One afternoon, my direct boss walks in, looks at my desk with its one folder and 2 maps, looks at my clean-topped filing cabinets, looks at my empty inbox, physical one you actually put paper or folders in, grunts, walks out. 20 minutes later, my boss strides back into my office, drops 18 inches of folders and papers onto my inbox, states proudly and firmly, "Worker, it doesn't look like you have enough to do. This should keep you busy." He smiled and strutted back to his cluttered office. It was busy work. 3 weeks of mind-numbing paperwork. Nothing outside of my work description, just more like duplicate files, old contracts, unorganized paperwork, and/or outdated maps. In dealing with the dump's aftermath, I learned my lesson. While doing my actual job was important, it was equally important that hard work appear to be happening so I could do my actual job. I started saving old files, old maps, and old legal documents. I rebound up papers that normally would have been recycled into legitimate-looking folders. I transformed my office into a duplicate of my boss's chaotic file and paper hellscape. My inbox always had papers and folders in it. Height and number would vary daily, never empty. I had folders piled on top of the filing cabinets, folders in stacks on the floor. 24 of those white office boxes packed with files towering around my work area. I even had a map rack with old maps rolled up in it. My office looked utterly cluttered. I even took to walking everywhere with a steno pad, a file folder, and sometimes a map under my arm. Didn't matter where. Getting coffee? Pad and file. Pooping? Pad and file. Pointless meeting? Pad, 2 files. Actually necessary and productive meeting? Pad, relevant file, relevant map. Every morning, right after scheduling my real work, I would shuffle the fake folders and paper around my desk and work area. Move the boxes around every 2 weeks. But in all that visual chaos, I kept one area of my desk clean, where the real work happened. One day, my boss peeked into my office, the door bumping into a stack of 3 full white boxes placed behind it and preventing it from fully opening. A single file fell off the top, spilling its guts all over the floor. He looked around, paused at the mess he just made, then, sorry about that. What you working on?" I rattled off 3 of the highest priority properties on the current week's schedule and the tasks for each. "All right, I'll give this to someone else," and walked down the hall. I'd already completed those tasks. It's a good idea, no matter where you work, to look busy because they will give you more to do if you don't look busy enough. And yeah, it's easy to fake it. Always be shuffling something, moving something, scrubbing something, doing anything. And then they feel like the money that you're getting paid is worth it. You just dodged a bullet here. He was going to give you a big stack of things to do. You've got too much going on. Oh no, it's not possible. You'll have to give that to somebody down the hall. Good for you, OP. It's gonna drive you crazy though. Somebody who likes a clean office, who likes an organized, clean office space and just happens to have it organized and clean, having to turn your workspace into a disastrous mess just so that it looks like you're busy must suck. For anybody who's got an organized mind, that's a definite downgrade in work. Our stories for today have come to a close. If you enjoy this content, please click like or subscribe or leave a comment below. Each of these things helps my channel reach more people. Until we meet again, have a radiant day.